The story of the taxi driver with two lives kicks off in Nairobi, where the streets never really sleep and the city buzzes with energy that makes everyone move a little faster. If you've been there during rush hour, you know the vibe: matatas bursting with color, traffic cops blowing whistles that nobody hears, and street vendors darting between cars like pros. In the middle of this chaos was Kamau, a taxi driver whose smile could brighten anyone's day. His customer service was so good that people tipped him even when they claimed they had no change. He had that friendly vibe, like, "Don't worry, you're safe with me." Families loved him and even asked for him by name. Some trusted him so much they let him drive their kids to school. That's how good he was. By day, he cruised around in an old silver Toyota that smelled like mint gum. Nothing flashy, just reliable. He'd share stories with his passengers about growing up on a farm and his dreams of owning a fleet of taxis. People always left thinking, this guy is genuinely nice, but if you looked a bit closer, you might have sensed something off. He was a little too friendly, a bit too curious about people's lives. At night, the city transformed, and so did Kamau. Nairobi after dark, it's a whole different vibe. The noise chills out, shadows stretch, and the streets start whispering secrets you wouldn't catch in the daylight. This was Kamau's favorite version of the city, where secrets roamed free. In this world, he shed his usual persona. No longer a friendly driver or storyteller, he morphed into a man in a sharp, dark jacket with a fake police badge tucked away. He'd practice his authoritative voice in the mirror, nailing that perfect mix of fear and command. He didn't go full cop, too risky. But a night patrol enforcer, totally believable. If you've ever been stopped by someone in uniform at night, you know how quickly you comply. Darkness makes everything feel legit. His routine was straightforward: target someone walking alone from a bar, club, or late shift. He'd pull over, flash the badge, and use that clipped tone. "Step inside. We just need to verify your identity." Don't make this difficult. Fear did the rest. Once they were in, he'd casually lock the doors. The shaking started. In them, never in him. He was eerily calm, like he'd rehearsed this whole scene. He didn't always hurt them physically, no, that wasn't his main thing. Kamau was all about control, power, and money. He'd accuse them of vague offenses, roaming the streets suspiciously, breaking curfew rules that didn't exist, violating some imaginary municipal code. And once the victim was sufficiently terrified, he'd offer his solution: a bribe. A little something to avoid formal procedures. People paid. They paid out of fear. They paid because arguing with someone who might be a police officer at night is a gamble no sane person wants to take. He never took too much, just enough to keep the victim quiet and convince them reporting would be more stress than it's worth. And then he'd drop them off in some random place far from where he picked them. In the morning, he'd be back to his cheerful, mint-scented taxi driver persona. For months, maybe even years, this double life worked flawlessly. Nobody connected the dots. The daytime customers adored him. The nighttime victims were ashamed, confused, or afraid, and half convinced the encounter had been their own fault for walking alone at night. Fear is quiet. Shame is quieter, and Kamau counted on that. But the thing about living two lives is that eventually one side starts slipping into the other. You can't be two people forever without messing up somewhere. And in Kamau's case, the beginning of the end came because he got comfortable, too comfortable, and decided to take a risk he should have avoided at all costs. It happened on a Thursday night. The air had that heavy, sticky feel it gets right before it rains, and the clouds hung low like they were eavesdropping on the city. Kamau was driving slowly through a dimly lit road near Westlands, looking for potential customers. As he turned a corner, he saw exactly what he liked: a man walking alone, holding a small brown envelope, head down, clearly in a hurry. Perfect. He pulled over, flashed the badge, hit the tone he'd perfected. You, stop. We need to check your documents. The guy paused. Kamau stepped closer, trying to look intimidating. Get in the car. It's safer there for questioning. The man hesitated, just enough for Kamau to feel that flicker of annoyance, but eventually he got in. Kamau locked the doors. What's in the envelope? He asked, pretending to be casual. The man didn't answer. He just stared at Kamau with this unreadable expression. Calm. It threw him off. Kamau cleared his throat and went into his usual script, accusing him of suspicious behavior, hinting at possible arrest, building the pressure. But the man didn't flinch. No fear, no panic, just quiet. Then the man said very softly, "You know this badge is fake, right?" Kamau's heart lurched, but his face didn't show it. "Watch your mouth," he snapped. "You think I'm playing with you?" The man leaned back. "I don't think you're playing. I think you've been doing this for a long time." He tapped the door lightly, "But tonight you picked the wrong one. If Kamau had been smarter, he would have let the man go. But arrogance blinds even the sharpest people." "Give me the envelope," he ordered. The man handed it over without resistance. Inside were papers, official-looking ones. Kamau flipped through them. He didn't understand most of it, but one line jumped out at him like a slap. Internal Affairs Division, undercover operations. Kamau felt his blood run cold. He looked up slowly. The man was still watching him, still unfazed. "You know what's funny?" the man said. "I've been hearing complaints. People describing a man in a silver Toyota with a friendly face and a fake badge. I've been hoping to run into him." Panic clawed at Kamau's throat. He reached for the gear, maybe to run, maybe to fight, maybe to do something. But before he could even decide, a hand shot out, grabbed his wrist, twisted it so fast and so clean that the fake badge fell onto the floor like trash. Then another hand reached over and quietly turned off the ignition. The silence in the car felt loud. The man spoke again, this time with full authority, full calm, full certainty. "You're under arrest." Everything after that unfolded like a bad dream. The undercover officer radioed in. Within minutes, real officers surrounded the scene. Kamau was dragged out of the driver's seat, his jacket confiscated, his badge bagged as evidence. People from nearby buildings gathered to watch, some shocked, some delighted, some whispering. The next morning, the city buzzed with the news. The beloved taxi driver, the friendly neighborhood guy, had been living a second life built on extortion and fear. But the strangest part wasn't his arrest. It was what happened after. When the story hit the news, victims started crawling out of the silence. One after another, people who thought they were alone. People who thought no one would believe them. People who realized the officer who shook them down was just a man with a Badwig-esque confidence and a KSH 300 badge from River Road. Some stories were small, some were terrifying, but all of them pointed to the same man. Kamau never confessed, not once. He kept insisting he was set up, that it was all a misunderstanding, that he wasn't the person they thought he was. But evidence doesn't care about excuses, and by the time the trial came, his fate was sealed. People still argue about him today. Some say he was a genius manipulator. Others say he was a coward who hid behind uniforms he didn't earn. But everyone agrees on one thing. Nairobi has seen many criminals, but few were as defaced, as deceptively ordinary, as disturbingly charming as the taxi driver who lived to lives until he picked the one man he should then ever touched.